Hello and welcome. My name is Kyle FtW and welcome back to another Battlefield 6 video here on the channel. Today, we are here with my week 1 beta review. I know that I'm a little bit late to the party. I think almost every creator on the internet that does Call of Duty or Battlefield has already made a video about this, but I'm a little bit late to the party because I wanted to upload one more video yesterday playing the game itself and everything of that nature. So this review comes after playing a insane amount of the beta. I've been streaming the last 3. I streamed Friday night, Saturday night, and Saturday night, and I even think I did it Thursday night as well. But I have 3 Battlefield 6 streams, and they all are around 4 hours in length. So I put about 12 to 13 hours into the beta, and that doesn't even include the day that I didn't stream, where I played the game an insane amount. So I have put a ton of time into the beta, and I think I'm able to get a pretty solid review of this game in week 1 of the beta together. So I have been playing Battlefield for about 14 years now, ever since Battlefield 3, which was my first one, but I've played every Battlefield game since, and I have to say that Battlefield 6 was amazing. Just to start off the video straight up, the game was absolutely amazing. I had so much fun. I haven't had this much fun in a Battlefield game since Battlefield 4 over 12 years ago. I did do Battlefield 4 stream last night, and I still have fun playing that game, but up until this point, I have not had this much fun playing a Battlefield game since those old school games. So Battlefield 2042, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5 didn't do it for me as much as this game has. Those were their own unique Battlefield games in their own way. But Battlefield 6 has been an absolute blast. So instead of doing a good, bad, and ugly review, which I tend to do whenever I do a review of a game, I don't actually have any like super bad or super ugly for this game. All I have is good, and then I have one thing in a gray area, and then I have some tweaks that I think need to be made, which I guess would be in the quote-unquote bad. But there was nothing from my experience that would be like super bad that I would consider to be, you know, extremely bad for the game, and there was definitely nothing that was ugly that I would be like, this needs to be fixed now, or the game's not going to be good. So let's go ahead and get into the good. I have a lot of good stuff to talk about here. I'll try not to make this video too long, but there is a lot for me to talk about here. So starting off here, first off, with the good, gunplay and move. I'll probably lump the first 3 together. So gunplay, movement, and the sound engine are all incredibly good here within this game. The destruction is absolutely fantastic, which I guess I should probably add that into this list and kind of lump that in with everything else. But so focusing on each thing individually first, the gunplay is really smooth within this game. It feels really nice. It feels very much like Battlefield 2042, but also feels very similar to the older Battlefield games in the way that it does take a little bit of skill to win gunfights. You do have to get if you want 0 recoil on a weapon, you have to definitely make sure you have all attachments. Even then, the recoil can get a little bit away from you, and I think the gunplay feels really smooth overall. I think every weapon does well at the range that it's designed for, so ARs are definitely going to be good for medium range. If you get too far away, it's going to be very hard to control those weapons. LMGs are pretty versatile from long to medium range. They definitely struggle from close up. SMGs are, of course, close up, amazing weapons. And then we, of course, have the snipers, which are good from obviously sniper range. So I think the gunplay is very good. The movement has definitely had some controversy behind it from some very old Battlefield veterans, but for me personally, I actually really like the movement in the game. For me, I watched I saw a tweet that showed Battlefield 3 gameplay, and Battlefield 3 was a fast moving game. Your characters move fast. Even Battlefield 4 was a game where your characters moved really fast, and I think that Battlefield 6 has definitely added to that movement, which I think is a really awesome thing. And the fact that you can get around the map pretty quickly and the game feels super fast-paced is, I think, a huge win, and I think is great. The movement being quicker than other Battlefield games, I really don't have anything to complain about when it comes to that, to be very honest. Next, for the sound engine is incredible. If you guys have watched my previous videos of Battlefield 6, you know, the crumbling of the rubble, the explosions of the tanks, the firing of the weapons, it just all sounds, it's a very great game on the ears. Like, if there was any award that would get the sound engine of the year award later on this year in 2025, I bet that Battlefield 5 will probably get it. It is just an incredibly good sound engine, and that is not even counting the fact that we haven't even played the campaign yet, and usually the campaign has an even better sound engine. So the sound engine within the beta was incredible. It was a very immersive game, and that's probably why it was so easy for me to play 4 or 5 hours of the game and really never get bored, because it just is so immersive and so fun to be involved in those environments with the sounds just sounding really good. Next, the destruction was another one of my favorite things. I kind of rhymed and raved about this throughout the streams about the game. I love how all the environments, they explode. You can literally go up to a building, shoot it with your tank, and it comes crumbling down. You can use the grenade launcher to blow up a wall, and it falls and disappears. And I just love the destruction aspects of this game. Some people have said it's a little too much, but for me, I think it's a really good thing. It's a fun thing to interact with. It's always been one of the famous sides of Battlefield, of the entire Battlefield franchise. Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, etc. They've all had really good destruction, and Battlefield 6 kind of blew that out of the water, in my opinion. So, I love all those four things. The basic game mechanics, gunplay, movement, sound engine, and destruction, all get A's for me. I think they're absolutely amazing and definitely make the game extremely good. So moving on, next we have something that's pretty quick. I just enjoyed the weapon versatility in the game overall. I didn't get the chance to use every single weapon in the beta. I will say that there is one thing that I will talk about in the tweak section of the video about one specific weapon class, but for the most part, the ARs, the carbines, the LMGs, not the LMGs, the carbines, the ARs, and were very versatile, and you could really use all of them, and you could do super well. Again, I didn't get the chance, unfortunately, to use all of them a bunch, but the ones that I did use, they all felt good in their own unique ways, and they all felt balanced, which was definitely a nice thing. Again, I'll get to some of them here a little bit later, but for the most part, with the primary weapons, specifically with the ARs and the carbines, they felt nice. Next, the maps. I actually really enjoyed the maps. Siege of Cairo is definitely my favorite map. I just thought it flowed the best. I thought it was one of the more fast-paced maps, and it was fun, but it was controlled. You could kind of learn how to play those maps well. It didn't have a lot of open areas, so it didn't feel like, that the action was quick, but also kind of controlled in the way that, for example, in my stream from last night, I was playing a map that was focused on infantry, like Siege of Cairo is, but was incredibly insane and just didn't really feel like it had much flow. It was kind of just chaos. The maps in this game, thank goodness, feel very much like they're controlled chaos. They're fast-paced, but they don't feel like you're getting shot in the back, you're getting shot in the side, you're getting shot from all over the place, and you're having a hard time doing well. I was able to succeed on almost every single map, which is really good. So I did split up the maps into Conquest and Breakthrough, because again, they're very, very different. The Conquest maps that I loved the most were definitely Siege of Cairo. I mean, all three of the maps were good for Conquest, in my opinion. There is a tweak on Liberation Peak that we do need to talk about, but for me, Liberation Peak was the most Battlefield-esque map in the game. I really got to play it very little, but I did like it. It felt very much like a standard Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3 map, which I really liked. Breakthrough was okay on most maps. I honestly just don't think Breakthrough is really one of my favorite game modes. I just don't think I like it that much. But Breakthrough on Siege of Cairo was great. I had a lot of fun on that. And I don't actually think I ever played Breakthrough on the Iberian map. I don't believe I ever did. I don't know if that map is available for Breakthrough, but Siege of Cairo was fine, and I enjoyed it as well. So the other thing that I put in the good category, moving on from the maps, again, maps were fine, is the small modes within Battlefield 6. So you can definitely tell that the Battlefield 6 team, Battlefield Labs, said, we need to make this game available to everybody. No matter if you're a Battlefield veteran or if you're a Call of Duty player who's going to give Battlefield a try. Again, I said it in the stream last night, but I have been absolutely amazed with how many Call of Duty players, specific Call of Duty players, who have barely touched Battlefield, are loving Battlefield 6. There are some people that don't like it, of course, which is expected, but the vast majority of Call of Duty content creators that I see here on YouTube, that I'm subscribed to at least, can't stop talking about Battlefield 6. They love it. They are really, really enjoying it. They're like, this is amazing. And I think that the small modes definitely help with that retention for Call of Duty players, because a Call of Duty player who's never played Battlefield before is really not going to jump into Conquest and enjoy it. Probably not going to jump into Breakthrough and enjoy it, but the Dominations, the King of the Hills, I think that the Call of Duty community really likes those modes, because it kind of gets them an introduction to Battlefield in a cool way, but also kind of shows what the game is all about. And I think that that's been a huge win for Battlefield, is having those small modes, so that, the people who don't play Battlefield can come into Battlefield 6 and experience what the game is like without having to worry about learning vehicle mechanics, learning how to play Conquest, and all that stuff. So I think that that's a great thing, and I have a very good feeling that that's why the numbers have been so insanely high for this. Part of it, I believe, is the setting too, being more of a modern shooter game, but also the fact that this game seems to really cater towards everybody, not just Battlefield players. So that's a huge win. Next, I have the class system here. There are some adjustments that I think need to be made to the class system, but I just have the fact that the class system is in the game. So we have the standard 4 classes that we have come to expect from Battlefield over the last decade or more, leading up until Battlefield 2042 when they changed that. And again, the class system being introduced into the game is just a very good thing, and I'm happy that they went ahead with that. So, and then last but not least, the last thing that I wanted to discuss here is the anti-cheat system. It's been very good, very successful. There have been an insane amount of players banned. If you just look at Twitter, there's been over 300,000 people banned, which means that the anti-cheat system is working. I personally have never come into any contact with a cheater or a hacker within Battlefield 6, which is a good thing. That's pretty standard for Battlefield. Battlefield has always had a really good anti-cheat system, but especially with Battlefield 6, I have seen literally 0 hackers, and the fact that we kind of are getting data about how many people have been banned is a huge deal. Again, that's a big thing. Games can be ruined very quickly if there's hackers, especially a free beta that's open to everybody. If the anti-cheat was not working, then the beta could be ruined for people pretty darn quickly. Now, there have been some hackers that have been, of course, been banned, but still, the fact that the anti-cheat system is working is nothing but a good thing. So that is everything that was good. Overall, I think the base game mechanics and almost everything about this beta was good. But now we're going to go ahead and get into the gray area thing and then the tweaks. So the gray area that I really didn't know where to put was the IFV and the tank. Those vehicles, from my experience, they're really powerful. They do a lot of damage to people, specifically the IFV, which is why I didn't know how to split this up. The IFV is an insanely good vehicle. I even have a video dedicated to the IFV and how good it is. I think that the IFV is super strong, and I don't know if those high explosive rounds for the IFV are standard, so when Battlefield 6 releases, if we have to actually unlock those high explosive rounds or if those come default. If those come default, then I think that the IFV needs to be tweaked a little bit, because if you look at previous Battlefield games, the LAV, it gets kills with a direct impact. So it gets like 1 hit, 2 hit kills for a direct impact. The rest of the time, the splash damage will take maybe 3, 4, 5 of those semi-automatic shells to actually get a kill. And so in the case of Battlefield 6, you can basically 1-2 shot almost any enemy from super far away. They have insanely high splash damage, and I don't think that there's necessarily a huge problem with that, especially because kind of the trade-off is that the vehicles can get killed in about 4 RPGs, which is a good thing. But again, that's why it's in the gray area, because I like aspects of the vehicles, specifically the IFV, but I also think that there could be some things about it that are too strong. The tank definitely needs an adjustment, for sure. I think that is going to be, I think that's how we're actually going to kick off the tweak section of the video. So the tank is just not as powerful as I was hoping it would be. The tank, I believe it will one hit kill you, which is pretty standard for other older Battlefield games if you hit them directly. But I think that the splash damage on the tank shell rounds is a little bit too low, because I've had times where I've literally shot the foot underneath an enemy and I've done like 17 damage. So I think they definitely need to buff the damage or buff the splash damage of the tank's main gun and make it better, because I think that it was definitely kind of weak. And tanks are supposed to be that vehicle. Tanks are supposed to be vehicles that are good at destroying other vehicles, but they are also nice when it comes to taking out infantry, which, I mean, you could switch to the turret, but a lot of people like to use the actual missile, the shell that comes out of the tank, instead of the turret. And the turret also felt pretty weak too. Like the gunner turret, I would rather use the gunner turret on a tank than I would use the base turret as the driver. So they definitely need to tweak the tanks a little bit with the damage, in my personal opinion, because the IFV is just so much better at killing infantry anyway. The tank will destroy an IFV extremely quickly. So again, as I said, it's in the gray area because the rocket launchers can destroy them really quickly. They're not like super powerful, durable vehicles, but I think the damage is maybe too high on the IFE and the tank might need a buff, so that's why it's kind of in the middle. Not really anything that's like a bad thing or needs to be tweaked fully, but definitely something that I wanted to address in this video. So now we're going to be moving on to the full-fledged tweaks that I think need to happen within the beta. This includes talking about some exploits, some bugs, and some vehicle class and weapon changes as well. So starting off here, first off with my first tweak, I have Liberation Peak Breakthrough. Specifically when it comes to the attacking side, I think that the Liberation Peak is extremely one-sided with its balance. I have maybe been, I mean, this could be a skill issue, so, you know, but I think that this is more of a broad consensus complaint about Liberation Peak. When it comes to Liberation Peak Breakthrough as the attackers, it is extremely one-sided. I've had times where I spawned literally in front of a sniper who's looking right at me with their glint, which would be a really annoying death, of course. And also, I just think that it is a point that they need to move somewhere. I think it's just way too challenging for the attacking team to actually progress on the map. I mean, I even saw a clip of a gameplay where a guy got like over a 3 KD spread, first place on his team, trying his absolute hardest to get that to the point, and it was impossible. And that could have been team factor. There could have been a lot of factors that were in play with that. But for the most part, my experience on Liberation Peak Breakthrough has been pretty poor as the attackers. It's just way too hard to capture the points. It's very one-sided. The hill that you have to climb up to get to the objective is just really not ideal. And I definitely think that when it comes to that point, maybe they need to move it back further and move the attacking spawn more forward. But either way, there needs to be something changed with that. It just, you know, when it comes to attack defend modes like Rush and Breakthrough, you have to not make it too easy on the attackers, and you have to make it not too easy on the defenders. And for me, Liberation Breakthrough is way too easy for the attackers, or way too easy for the defenders, and is extremely difficult for attackers. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about with the tweaks is I think the SMGs and the LMGs are pretty weak. They don't really do. Now, again, my SMG experience was mostly with keyboard and mouse, not with controllers, so I could be completely wrong about the SMGs, and I have occasionally been melted to an SMG, but for the most part, I feel like the SMGs are just very not good. I just don't think that they're very good weapons. Within the beta, I think that they get more hit markers than they're worth. I think even from relative medium close range, you'll get outgunned by an AR 9 times out of 10. Of course, if you're like very close to an enemy, you could kill them pretty quickly with an SMG. But if they're using assault and they have a shotgun, you pretty much stand no chance. So I think the SMGs might need either a range buff or a damage buff. Not sure which, but I do believe that needs to happen. My next complaint is definitely with the LMGs as well. I think the LMGs within Battlefield 6 are not as strong as they should be. If you go back to any other Battlefield game, I'm talking Battlefield 4 more specifically because I played that game extremely recently, you can move as fast with an LMG as you can with an AR. You can move as fast with an LMG as you were moving with a SMG, etc. And I think that needs to happen within Battlefield 6 as well. The LMGs for me felt way too slow, and that you weren't able to compete against other weapons because of the draw time compared to almost all the other weapons in the game. And when you have a fast-paced game like Battlefield 6 is, and you have a really slow, sluggish weapon like an LMG going up against the faster weapons in the game, the LMGs can become immediately unbalanced. And from my experience, LMGs definitely within this game promote camping a lot. Even if you use support with an LMG, which is the support signature weapon, where you're supposed to have improved handling skills with LMGs, they still feel really slow. So I think that there definitely needs to be some adjustments made with the LMGs, making them probably just a handling buff. I think the damage is fine on them, but more of a handling buff, so they are as viable as an AR. You can run faster with them, and I know that there has to be a trade-off with the LMGs, but again, in all the games that I've played, I pretty much never see an LMG. So I definitely would like to see a change with those as well. Next, for classes, I have a couple of classes that might need some balancing changes. Starting off here, first off with Engineer. This one has, I believe, been spoken about being fixed, but Engineers can use RPGs and anti-air on the same class. So if you have gadget, every character, every class has 2 gadgets. For the Engineer, you can use the repair tool or the RPG. or you can use the RPG and you can use an anti-air launcher, which has never been a thing in any Battlefield game before this one. In Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, you had to pick one or the other. You could either use a anti-ground or anti-air rocket launcher. You could not use both. And so I definitely think that needs to be changed and that needs to be tweaked for the Weekend 2, or if not Weekend 2, for the launch of the beta or launch of the game itself. Because for something I'll talk about in a little bit, it just causes some vehicle balancing issues where the vehicles become extremely unviable, which is definitely a bad thing, because part of the attractiveness of Battlefield is the fact that you can use vehicles and you can have a lot of fun with them, drive them around, blow stuff up, get a lot of kills, etc. So definitely need to tweak that with Engineer. Next, we have Assault. So Assault is definitely the strongest class by far, without a doubt, within the Battlefield 6 beta. The fact that you can have an AR and a shotgun means that you are at a significant advantage. And I bet if you look at the back-end data that DICE and Battlefield Labs has, Assault is used more than any other class in the game by far. I mean, every time that I see a good YouTube gameplay, even my gameplays, even my best games in Battlefield 6, I've been using the Assault class. Because again, it's just so good. You know, especially on the maps that we've been given in the beta, you are far away, you use your AR, you get close up, you pull out the shotgun, and you can beat almost pretty much everything out, unless you miss. So I definitely think that Assault needs to be balanced. I don't know exactly how they go about that balance, but I definitely think that they need to do something to balance Assault out a little bit more with the other classes, maybe make the shotgun a little bit weaker. But then again, as I've said many times before, I think the shotguns are supposed to be good from super close range, and shotguns within Battlefield games have consistently been really good from close range. I mean, even during the stream last night on Battlefield 4, there were times where I was complaining about the shotguns because they are extremely good from close range. But I will say that the difference between the older Battlefield games and Battlefield 6 is you have to choose to use a shotgun as your primary weapon. In previous Battlefield games, in Battlefield 6, you can have both, which has never happened in Battlefield, and I think causes a balancing issue where Assault is better than every class. So if you want to get a very good gameplay, Assault is the way to go. So I wish that I had better critiques for that one, but I definitely think that Assault is too strong and needs to be tweaked a little bit and changed. So we'll see if that actually happens, and I think maybe the tweak is to make the shotgun a little bit weaker so that SMGs and shotguns are kind of at the same even playing field, so that if you are an engineer using an SMG and you're going up against an Assault player using a shotgun, it's a 50-50 chance that you'll win, not pretty much 100-0 in favor of the Assault player using a shotgun. So you guys will have to let me know about how you feel about that one, but I think that Assault, without a doubt, is the most used and definitely needs to be changed a little bit. Next, talking about the other two vehicles that we had within the beta with the helicopters and the jets, and this goes back to what I was talking about with the engineer class. The helicopters and the jets are just too weak. They can get shot down so insanely quickly that they're pretty much not worth using. I've had many moments where I've used, well, I shouldn't say many moments, but I've had a few moments where I've tried to use the helicopter and I've literally been destroyed pretty much before I can do anything. You know, I might have put like 30 damage into a tank and then I'm destroyed because Engineer has those RPG or those anti-air that are super strong, and the health of the specific vehicles is just not very high, so they can get destroyed extremely easily. Now, I'm not really a flying player when it comes to Battlefield, but I know that that's been one of the biggest complaints from the people who love to do that in the game, so they definitely need to, I think all they need to really do is just increase the health of the helicopter and the jet, and then do that change for Engineer, and I think that the helicopters and jets will be in a good spot. So now we're going to talk about some main exploits and some bugs that I experienced throughout my time with the beta that definitely need to be fixed. So this would be, I guess, the ugly section of the game, because they can really affect your experience. So starting off here, first off with the first thing, the main exploit, there's a huge exploit that's been highly talked about within Battlefield 6, and that is underground map immunity glitch on Liberation Peak, where basically you climb up to a specific part of the mountain. I don't have a clip of me doing it because I didn't even know this exploit really exists until I watched a YouTube video about it. You basically go on Liberation Peak, you go up to a specific mountain. I think it's by the either the C or the D objective in Conquest, and you can literally hide in the rocks, push your weapon out, and then people can't shoot you, and people can't shoot out. This was a huge issue within Advanced Warfare, believe it or not, 10, 11 years ago, where there was a lot of map exploits where you could shoot out and enemies couldn't shoot in, and this is a huge problem. Huge problem. Map exploits where you can get underground and shoot enemies is extremely bad for the game. I personally have not ran into this, but for those people who have, they'll remember it and they'll be really annoyed by it. So that's definitely something that needs to be changed immediately before the game even comes out. You know, before week 2 of the beta even, this needs to be changed because it's not fair, it's broken, and gives enemies a significant advantage. So definitely need to change that one. Now the next 2 bugs I have here are pretty minor, but they are annoying. The first one, and this one is one I've complained about an insane amount of times, it's the weapons not firing during sustained automatic fire. I experienced this on Friday night for the first time, the second that I used controller. And you know, this might be where the keyboard and mouse players say, well, just use keyboard and mouse. But I prefer to play Battlefield on controller. A lot of people prefer to play Battlefield on controller, and this is a problem. I don't know if it's, you know, I tried, you know, plugging in my controller and making sure it was extra plugged in so I didn't have that issue, but the issue definitely persisted, which is annoying for sure. Like, there's so many times where I was playing the game and my gun stopped firing and I was like, okay, I guess I better reload, which was not the case. There was one moment where I had set 19 rounds left in my magazine. And so for me, that one definitely needs to be adjusted and changed and fixed because that's super annoying. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience for me or if it's just been me, but specifically with the Xbox controller on PC, I've had that issue where my gun stops firing during sustained automatic fire, and that's pretty annoying, especially because there was one moment where I was on a pretty good kill streak, my weapon stopped firing, the player was AFK actually, and my weapon stopped firing, and he turned around and killed me super fast, so that one definitely needs to be changed. Then the next bug that I have here, this one's pretty minor as well, is unable to change attachments mid-game. So I had a lot of different times where I unlocked a new attachment that I really wanted to try out mid-game, and every time I tried to equip it, it would immediately go back to the previous attachment that I had equipped, which, again, not game-breaking, just kind of annoying. And both of those two weren't game-breaking, but they were definitely annoying, for sure, especially the first one rather than the second one. And that's really the only bugs that I encountered in a pretty significant way. There's a small bug on Siege of Cairo where there's like a bright flashing light. It's not like a trigger or it's not like a flash warning light, but it's just kind of a bright light that just is in a corner of the map, which is just kind of weird. And then I did have like a weird sky texture glitch where the sky turned like green and black and kind of glitched out a little bit. That only happened once. That's not a game-breaking bug at all. There was another bug that I encountered only once where I think I got revived and I got caught on an object and my screen got really flashy and it kind of scared me a little bit because I was streaming and I didn't want anybody to have any flash issues. But for the most part, I can't think of any other bug that was game breaking. The two that I mentioned in this video were the ones that I encountered the most and the ones that I would definitely like to see adjusted. But yeah, guys, that's actually going to do it for this video. I hope it wasn't too long. I tried my best to talk about 30 minutes. Oof, yikes, I apologize for that. I tried to make everything go as quickly as possible, but again, when I'm being really constructive about a game, I can kind of talk for a while. So I apologize how long this video is, but I'll leave timestamps about everything that I talked about, so you guys can feel free to watch the things and let me know if you agree. And also just makes it easier just in case any Battlefield 6 developer sees this, which I kind of highly doubt, but still, that'll help with that as well. But overall, I had a really great experience with the game, which is why there's so much good, and there's tweaks that are very minor, just some things that I think should be adjusted. The bugs, of course, need to be fixed. The main exploit definitely needs to be fixed. Liberation Peak Breakthrough, I think, definitely needs to be fixed. But the rest of the stuff is maybe stuff that is kind of a wait and see for me. Maybe I need to use the SMGs and LMGs on controller on Thursday and just see if I like it. If maybe the controller was the problem, or if keyboard and mouse was the problem, and maybe I'll like them more after that. But anyways, let me know what you guys' thoughts are about Battlefield 6. Again, overall, I think it's been a great beta experience, and the fact that it's a beta that runs this well, I think, is another thing that should be should give a clap to DICE and EA. It's basically been a flawless beta. Even with the insanely high player counts, I've had no issues connection-wise, frame-wise, finding matches. Everything's been perfect as far as that goes. So definitely hats off to Battlefield 6. They did an excellent job, and I honestly can't wait till Thursday comes around to play the game again. So anyways, if you did enjoy this video, like rating is always appreciated. Want to check out any of my other previous Battlefield 6 videos, I will leave my previous video a link down below in the description, as well as I'll also leave my previous Battlefield 6 live stream, so you guys can feel free to see any of the games live that you would like to. So anyways, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you all on in another Battlefield 6 or Call of Duty video very, very soon.